following Jesus was never supposed to be always a piece of cake. Jesus says, whoever wants to follow me should be willing to pick up his cross and follow me. And you know, the way of the cross is often a way that leads us through trials, testings, where our faith is being tested, where God wants to see, do you love me only when it's good for you? Or are you willing to trust me also when you don't understand what's happening in your life? Remember Job, he did not understand what was happening in his life. He was righteous in the eyes of God, and yet God allowed the devil to test him. Well, the book of Job carried a message for Job eventually, and also for all of us today. But the message today that we can draw out of it is that sometimes God may allow, for reasons we do not understand, He may allow difficult circumstances. Now, dear ones, when we come into these places of difficulties, let us not be like the children of Israel. When they came out of Egypt, they saw the mighty hand of God. They saw how God delivered them from this powerful Egypt. They were a bunch of slaves. They had no military power. God overcame all the military power of Egypt, all the stubbornness of Pharaoh. He opened up the sea. He led them into the wilderness. And He was walking before them in the pillar, in the cloud. Walking. You see, it was not Moses that was leading them. It was God that was leading them. And God led them into places which, humanly speaking, were impossible. It was a dead end. They walked 3 days in the wilderness. They ran out of water. And here they come to a place called Rephidim, and there is no water for the people to drink. Now, you know how many people were there? There were over 600,000 grown-up men, the age of 20 and up. And if you had that many men, you had at least that many women. And you had many more children, because back in those days, families wanted not just one child and a cat at home. They wanted 10 children if possible. So easily you had 3 million people with all of their cattle and sheep and donkeys and cows and no water in the wilderness. They were 3 days away walking from the last place where they had water. So no way they could walk back to this place of water. For them, logically, humanly speaking, it was a death sentence. And yet, God led them into this place. What did God want to achieve by this? He wanted to see, do you trust me? Do you know that I live in your midst? Would you turn to me with your request? You see, God had a solution. God had no problem. He brought water out of the rock. He told Moses, go and hit the rock. And Moses did so, and plenty of water came out. But my nation, my people, they never learned a lesson. Whenever they came into a difficult situation, they kept complaining and rebelling and wanting to go back to Egypt. It is a very bad example. We should not follow them. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 3 and chapter 4, we're being warned not to be stubborn, not to be complaining as they were complaining. So when you come to this place in your life which is difficult, the best thing you can do is say, God, I believe in you. God, I trust in you. I will take from your hand not only what is good, but also what is difficult, also what I cannot explain and understand, and I will thank you. Say, God, I thank you for the difficulty. I thank you for what is hurting me now. And it's okay. The next sentence to say, but God, please remove this cup away from me. Jesus said the same thing in Gethsemane. He prayed, Father, if it is possible, remove this cup of suffering from me. But then he said, and he added, not my will, but thy will be done. So we need to follow the example of our teacher. When we come into these places, don't complain. Don't complain. Thank God. Trust in Him, and He will help you. You know, I believe that when we thank Him, then the test is over. God doesn't take pleasure in us just suffering. He's not a bad God. He's a good God. So when we thank Him and we've sustained, we've passed the test, He will easily take us also out. If He sees that He has finished the lesson that He wants to engrave into our hearts, into our spirits, if He sees it has been accomplished, He will stop and He will bring us to green pastures. God help you to trust Him also when you don't understand Him. God bless you.